both the Rio Grande Baseball and softball teams, and we've got a handful of athletes still in the running at the National Track and Field Competition. We'll discuss all of it on the May edition of Eye on the Storm, and it comes up next. And we welcome you to the May edition of Eye on the Storm. I'm Randy Payton, the Sports Information Director here at the University of Rio Grande, as we wrap up the 2018-19 school year. As we said, some impressive postseason runs by baseball and softball. Still a handful of athletes that are participating. Matter of fact, later, I guess tomorrow is actually when they get underway down in Gulf Shores, Alabama, in terms of track and field. But we'll get our show underway by bringing in our in-studio guest, and that's head coach Brad Warnemont of the Rio Grande baseball team. His club just finishing a run down in Macon, Georgia, as part of the NAIA National Tournament opening round. They finished 39-21, 18-9, and I guess before we get into particular gameplay down in Macon, the fact that you guys won the conference tournament, you made the national tournament, and won almost 40 games on the season, quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, we started playing our best baseball at the right time, Randy. I was anticipating that through the middle part and the first part of the season with the amount of upperclassmen that I had. We have 6 seniors, and we were waiting for that to happen, and it finally clicked at the right time, and we started playing our best baseball. So very pleased and very happy for our seniors that ended on a high note, and we have some guys that really rewrote the record book. So we're very pleased with that.
You start looking at the season as a whole. You finished 4th in the River States Conference regular season standings, but you got hot at the right time after losing your first game in the River States Conference tournament. You end up winning 4 in a row. You beat IU Kokomo twice to win the tournament championship, and what a great run that was up at VA Memorial Stadium, and a couple of exciting wins on that Sunday to get it done and send you into the national tournament.
Yeah, if you're a baseball fan, I don't know if it's more exciting to be down 6-0 in the first. It wasn't as a coach, but as a fan, you're down 6-0, and then your bullpen does an outstanding job and keeps you right where you need to be, and come back and win the game 7-6 in 12 innings. So hats off to my kids, the way they battled and had a game plan, and in a 9-inning ball game, and I don't think people understand that, but in a 9-inning game, there's an awful lot of time to come back, and that's exactly what we did. You score 1 here, 1 there, and just try to continue to stick with your game plan and stay aggressive, and good things are going to happen.
You prove that it's a team sport by the fact that Victor Feliz, who had only thrown 11 innings all year, throws 8 shutout innings in that game against Kokomo in the second championship final. And then you finish it off with Zach Harvey, who's a stud in his own right, and a guy that kind of got rattled around by the Cougars in the first round. He wanted a second shot at him, and he got it, and success.
Yeah, well, I think their dugout put some fuel on the fire when they yelled, we want him, we want him. Well, they got him 100%, and you put a little bit of motivation behind Zach, and he's going to be awful tough to beat. And same thing. I think last year he took a loss down at Middle Georgia, and he came back in the opening round of the national tournament and threw a gem there as well. So pitched extremely well. So we're very proud of those guys and with their accomplishments.
I think we've got a picture of just how much it meant to your team to win that conference championship, and you can see just about every face, and Harvey's in there as well. That
he might be the first one out of the dugout there.
I think he is, but that's a great shot, to be honest about it, with all those guys and showing that on-field celebration and getting you into the national tournament. And you mentioned you go to Macon, Georgia, in a tough bracket with the number 10 team in the country, Middle Georgia State, the number 1 team in the country, Southeastern, and the defending national champion.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You open the first round against Middle Georgia State, and you get the job done there and kind of set yourself up in a nice position. Nice in the fact that you're in the winner's bracket, bad that you were going to have to face the number 1 team in the country.
Yeah, and I debated, and I even asked my coaching staff, do I let them know that we're 2 games away from the World Series, or would that amp them up too much? And they said, oh, I think that'll get them too excited to play. So, and you look up at the scoreboard, and it's 2-1 in the 5th against number 1 in the nation, the defending national champion, and you're that close. And well, after we gave up a couple, I had to give them that theme. Guys, we're that close. You're 2 games away. You're 1.5 games away. We need to lock in and focus and fine-tune and get done what we need to get done. And it just didn't happen. But we, a 7-2 ball game. We were in it to the end.
They get 3 of their runs in the 9th inning. So it's a 4-2 game going to the 9th.
We were close. So, I mean, but close doesn't get it done in baseball.
And it's a double elimination event in the national tournament opening round. That gave you a rematch with Middle Georgia State, who to their defense had won 2 elimination games prior to coming back to play you again. And I think just a matter, and it's kind of a situation that we saw all throughout the year, just got a little thin pitching-wise down towards, and kicked it around a little bit.
Yeah, and you've heard the analogy, and people are always going to tell you it comes down to pitching and defense. And when those 2 things sort of leave the building, we didn't hit the way we were capable of either. When you look up at the board, I think we had 4 or 5 hits in a ball game, and when you have 2 or 3 errors, might have had 4 in that one game. I mean, it's awful tough to beat people when you have 4 errors and 4 hits, and you really need to manufacture runs and execute your base running and do the little things when you get at that level. Because hey, at that time of year, everybody's a champion. Everybody's won their league. Everybody's there's no...
They're there for a reason.
Yeah, exactly. They're there for a reason. Everybody earned their keep. So it's not like they're going to come in flat or roll over, or, they deserve to be there. And at the end of the year, the team that can prevail mentally, I think, is the team that's going to, come out on top. So...
It didn't end the way that you wanted it to, but there were some bright spots in terms of all conference selections. You had the Player of the Year in Dylan Shockley. You had the Pitcher of the Year in Zach Harvey. 2 other first team all conference guys in Clayton Sorrell and David Rodriguez. Michael Rodriguez made second team. There's a shot of Dylan Shockley from the conference tournament. He, of course, as we said, the Player of the Year, I believe, for the 2nd straight year?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And then there's a shot of Zach Harvey also in that championship game against IU Kokomo. Named the Pitcher of the Year. He finishes 2nd in the country in wins. He currently leads the country in strikeouts. He can be passed by a couple of guys from Science and Arts in Oklahoma who are part of the NAIA World Series, but those 2 guys, without question, outstanding season.
Yes, and outstanding careers when you look at what Zach has accomplished. The strikeout leader, shutout leader. I believe we were talking about those on the trip back, but I believe he has 6 school records, and some of those obviously strikeouts and shutouts and career strikeouts and season strikeouts, and he's had an outstanding career. And one of those is sophomore season. He reminisced a little bit as we had him out of the bullpen because he had some arm issues. He was upset that he was down for 3 weeks. So. And was trying to get back into that starting role, and that didn't happen until summer ball. So, that being said, had he been healthy the entire way out, he would have. There would have been some records that would have stood for an awful long time.
Those 5 guys that we mentioned as far as all conference, outside of Clayton Sorrell, those other 4 all seniors, which means your work's cut out for you trying to find replacements.
Yes, and people who are asking, well, when are you going to start recruiting? The recruiting process begins, has already happened, and we've got some kids that have committed early, and we're still in the process now, obviously looking for some pitching to replace, and infielders and outfielders, and if all goes well with the Major League draft, we might be looking. Dylan does have 1 more year of eligibility, but we've got some Major League clubs that are extremely interested in Dylan Shockley, which would be awesome for Rio Grande, and very complimentary of Dylan and all of his hard work. And which, matter of fact, we just got done with some batting practice here. He's still working out very diligently to make that dream become a reality. So
we'll talk about that in just a second. One other thing, though, that I'm sure that a feather in the hat of the program. You guys had 7 guys named to the Scholar Athlete team in the River States Conference. I think we've got, there they are, Shockley, Harvey, and Eli Daniels on the top row from left to right, and then the bottom row, that's Kent Reeser, Zach Kendall, Trey Mead, and Connor Melton. And, those are guys that some of them obviously contributors on the field, but others contributors off the field and in the dugout. And anytime you can put 7 on an all-conference scholar athlete team, it's a good thing.
Well, and it's outstanding. And, there's a couple of those that are up there on that screen that are not just above a 3.25, but they're well above a 3.5. And 2 of those boys on the screen had 4.0s. So we're very proud of that and their accomplishments there. And, when you play a 60-game schedule, time management is vitally important, and doing what you need to do in the classroom and manage and balance everything is a struggle at times, but they did an outstanding job.
You mentioned the Major League Draft, and this will be the last thing before we let you go. Dylan Shockley, I guess there were some folks in the camp that thought he might have been drafted last year. It didn't happen, so he was able to come back and play this season. I think it's a very good possibility that he gets picked this year, and then there's an outside opportunity based on somebody coming to watch him. Zach Harvey may get a look as well.
Yeah, well, and both those boys have, and people that don't know how it works, a lot of the scouts out there, and I'm an associate scout as well with the Red Sox, and there are pre-draft workouts out there that are trying to sort of solidify the work that a scout has done and seen a positive in a player and says, hey, we think they have potential and the talent to be able to play at the next level. So they'll bring those players in for a closed special workout. And the Red Sox, we just had ours the other day, and Dylan was an invite there and showed very well. And Zach has a couple of those coming up as well. Him and Dylan both will be heading to another location, so we'll sort of keep that under wraps. But that's outstanding that those two are getting that type of attention. And all you need is a shot at that level, and we're hoping that those young men can get their shot and prove those scouts right, that they saw something in them that was special.
And for somebody like Dylan Shockley, it's been a season-long process where you played games here at Bob Evans Field, both on the road, where there's been scouts from Colorado and Kansas City and the Red Sox, and I know the Astros called one day wanting to know about a rainout being rescheduled. So these are guys, that, particularly Shockley, that have been on the radar for some time.
Right. And the first weekend, I think, was a pretty good indication, where there were 14 clubs out to watch us when we played down in Tennessee. So they just didn't follow us one location. We played at Bryan College and then at Tennessee Wesleyan, and both of them, well, a lot of those guys went from one location to the other. So that was outstanding. I mean, if they're showing that interest early, that we know that they are on someone's radar, and then later on in the season they'll have their follow-up and they'll come back in and take a look at how they're doing along with the statistics. And obviously both those two have very solid statistics and have put up All-American numbers. So
one last thing, you guys, one of the teams that you defeated en route to the tournament championship was the regular season champion in the conference, and that's IU Southeast, and they had a nice little run in the postseason down in Lawrenceville, Georgia as well. Speaks well for the conference.
Right. I mean, when both our conference teams can go in and win ball games, I mean, that's the most important thing. Is if you get some teams that were the conference tournament champion or the conference regular season champion, and they go in and they don't particularly play too well, there's always a red flags on the selection committee. And I'm now on that selection committee, so there's an awful lot of work that goes into the actual selection process and the seeding of every team, and they just don't throw them in a hat. There's an awful lot of work that goes in, and hats off to that selection committee, the other 9 people that are in that room. I now know how diligent of a process it is, and there's a lot of stones uncovered, and if you have a weakness, by golly, it goes up on the board. So the teams that are there are very deserving, and we're just happy and fortunate that both us and IU Southeast are one of those teams.
Well, we're sorry that you're not out in Lewiston this week, but that does not detract from a good season. 39 wins and conference tournament champs, a national tournament appearance, and congratulations on a good season.
Thank you, Randy.
That's head coach Brad Warnemont, the baseball head coach here at the University of Rio Grande, joining us here on Eye on the Storm. We turn our attention now to a couple of the other spring sports. Softball, a team that also, like baseball, was on the verge of being in the top 25 all season. They finished 36-16 overall and 17-1 The regular season champs in the River States Conference did make the national tournament, just like baseball, headed to Georgia Gwinnett College down in Lawrenceville, Georgia, lost their opening round game to Georgia Gwinnett, who was the 8th ranked team in the country. Came back, though, and defeated 12th ranked Truett McConnell, also defeated LSU Alexandria, a team who, like Rio Grande, was receiving votes in the top 25 to set themselves up for another championship meeting with Georgia Gwinnett. They needed to defeat Georgia Gwinnett twice in order to earn what would be the school's first ever World Series berth, NAIA World Series berth out in Springfield, Missouri. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Rio got out to an early 2-0 lead, but Gwinnett got 2 runs, I believe, in the 3rd inning and then in the 6th to win it by a score of 4-2. And I think we've actually got some action shots from some of that tournament play. There you see Kelsey Conkey, who pitched very well and closed out her career, one of 4 Rio players. And boy, you talk about somebody that's going to be missed. We talked about Harvey and Shockley on the baseball side. Kelsey Conkey going to be one that is missed tremendously on the softball side. She also one of the all River States Conference picks for Rio Grande. Rio had 6 of them on the first team, of course, as the regular season champion, and Kelsey was one of them. There is Michaela Kreiner, who is the River States Conference Player of the Year, and after the trip down to Georgia Gwinnett, and that's actually from one of the games against Georgia Gwinnett, she hit her 10th triple of the season down there and kind of earned a notable distinction. She is the only player in the country to hit 10 or more doubles, triples, and homers this season. The only one in the country. She was a first-team All-American pick last year, and certainly is in the mix for that same kind of honor this year. There's another picture of Conkey, who we said who was a 2-time conference pitcher of the year, and unfortunately did not win that honor this year. That honor went to Katie Tarr from Point Park University, but nonetheless, Kelsey Conkey, a nice year, a great career, and I'm sure will be going on to bigger and better things. There's another of the seniors in Carly Skis. That was a hit that she had against Truett McConnell in the national tournament opening round. Carly, I guess you could say kind of had her struggles at the plate throughout the course of the year, but played tremendous defense, and a young lady who has a nursing degree in tow and will be heading on to bigger and better things in the game of life. A great softball player, but going to be heading into nursing as well. There you see a shot of Raylan Hastings, who, like Conkey and like Kreiner, were first-team all-conference selections. That is her pitching in the opening round game against Georgia Gwinnett, and what an outstanding facility they have. We mentioned it on our Stretch Internet broadcast, an outstanding facility that they have down in Lawrenceville, Georgia, the number 8 team in the country. We mentioned Conkey, Hastings, and Kreiner as all-conference selections. Rio also got Kenzie Cremines at a catching position, Lexi Filan at one of the infield positions, and Taylor Webb at the outfield positions as all-conference selections. We mentioned Kreiner as the Player of the Year. Webb was the newcomer of the year from her outfield position. Also, Mary Pica made the second-team all-conference as a designated player spot, and Chris Hammond won his 4th consecutive Coach of the Year honor in the postseason awards throughout the River States Conference in softball. We talked about the 7 River States Conference scholar athletes that baseball had. Well, softball, they went 2 better. They had 9, as you see from left to right up in the top row. That's Michaela Kreiner, Kelsey Conkey, Raylan Hastings, and Lexi Filan. And on the bottom from the left to right, you've got Mary Pica. We've also got in there, that's Shelby Schmidt, Brooke Hoffman, Claire Janifay, and Jessica Sargent. So congratulations to those 9 ladies representing Rio Grande on the all-conference scholar athlete team. And we mentioned still to be named, it'll be named sometime this week, the All-American team, but Michaela Kreiner, based on a 400 batting average, we said double digits in all 3 extra base hit categories, it ought to be a cinch that she gets a second consecutive first-team All-American honor. We turn our attention now to track and field. We said there are a handful of young men and women representing Rio Grande who are down right now in Gulf Shores, Alabama, and there's one, River Spicer, who will be competing in the men's marathon competition. He's actually, his qualifying time is the 63rd best of those who are competing, and we should say those who finish in the top 8 of each of these individual categories will earn the distinction of All-American. He again is a junior, and he's in the men's marathon. That is Beyonce Bobbitt. She is a freshman who will compete in the women's discus throw. She is 14th in terms of her qualifying mark of 44.41 meters. She played a big role in Rio Grande winning the women's track and field conference championship, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Some of the other qualifiers, there you see Zach Collins. He is a junior, although you see him there in the shot put. He qualified for the national event in the hammer throw. His his mark, I should say, of 50.64 meters is 33rd best among those who qualified for the nationals. Also, you've got Shanavere Robinson. They call her Chevy, and she can, like a lot of Chevys, she can flat out move. Is going to be participating in the long jump, has the 22nd best qualifying time of 5.67. She competed in a number of other events for Rio, but will be in the national meet down at Gulf Shores, Alabama in the long jump. Also, that's Dean Freitag, who is actually in a position maybe to finish as an All-American. He has the 10th best qualifying time in the 5,000 meter race walk, 23 minutes, 45 seconds, and again, the top 8 in each of the categories at the national event earn All-American status. We've also got Amira Strother, who is in the 100 meter hurdles. Her time of 14.52 ranks 17th best among all of the competitors who are going to be taking place, or who are going to be competing, I should say, down at Gulf Shores, Alabama, and that actually gets underway tomorrow and runs through Saturday down at Mickey Miller Blackwell Stadium in Gulf Shores, Alabama. Kids made the trip earlier in the week. Head coach Bob Willey flying down at some point today to join them, and we'll see. Obviously, we'll cross our fingers and hope that they turn out well. There you see the picture of the women's track and field team, which finished first in the conference championship, and boy, in what dramatic fashion they did it. They were down 23.5 points heading into the final event in the conference meet. That was the discus throw. The only way they could win was to finish 1, 2, 3, and 5 in the competition. And what did they do? They finished 1, 2, 3, 4. Sierra Kress won it, one of 4 top 10 finishes that she had that earned her Field Athlete of the Year. Natalie Seberg, Samantha Miller, and Beyonce Bobbitt, who we saw earlier, completed the Rio's top 4 finishers. Also, Shanavere Robinson, who we saw a picture earlier, she was named Newcomer of the Year at the conference track meet. She finished first in the 100, second in the long jump, fourth in the 200, and was a member of Rio's 4 by 100 relay team. They finished first on the men's side. Rio finished 7th as a team among the 11th at the conference meet. Zach Collins, who we saw as a national qualifier, he had 3 top 10 finishes. He won the hammer throw. He finished 7th in both the shot and the discus. And Mo Farah won the 5,000 meter run to top Rio's efforts at the conference meet. And they had some kids that were also named scholar athletes. We got a look at those. There were 5 actually. Adam Champer is not pictured, but at the top on the left you see Daniel Everett. Top right is Ethan Greenawalt. Then you've got Mo Farah and Isaiah Lester on the left and right of your screen respectively there at the bottom. Those were the 5 scholar athletes on the men's side. And on the women's side you see Lucy Williams at the top. On the left, that's Rachel Barber, top right. And then along the bottom from left to right, Taylor Grubb, Natalie Seberg, and Kelsey Miller who also made a scholar athlete list, and not pictured there, you see, or you don't see rather, is Alexis Johnson Schoolcraft. So Rio had 6 that were named to the all-conference scholar athlete list. And with that, that wraps it up in terms of what we've got going on, or have going on, in terms of our athletics here at the University of Rio Grande. We do have plenty of camps coming up that you can find all kinds of information about on our website, which is www.rioredstorm.com. Basketball has a number of different shootouts and camps going on, and of course volleyball, women's basketball, and both soccer is also sponsoring camps throughout the course of the summer. We also want to take a quick mention and mention that we had our Champions of Character celebration just before the teams ran off to their respective postseason events, honored the accomplishments of all of the kids, the athletes throughout each of the sports that are sponsored here at the University of Rio Grande. Also gave out the finalists for the male and female athlete of the year. On the male side, it is Mitch Osmond and Dylan Shockley. On the female side, it's Jada Carter and Michaela Kreiner. There will be a vote of the athletic department staff in a couple of weeks, and we'll determine who will be our athletes of the year on both the male and the female side. And then we also wrap it up by mentioning the road trip graduation that we had again for, I believe now, the 3rd straight year. A lot of the schools that they get into postseason play, you see seniors that have to make a decision. Do I want to go through graduation? Do I want to travel with my team to the tournament that we're playing in? And Rio kind of eases that decision out of the way by doing a road trip graduation. I think there were 9 student athletes that went through it, a complete graduation ceremony, complete with the diplomas and the president and all the dignitaries who are here, and a nice thing that we have come up with over the past 3 years to allow our seniors to go through that ceremony, allow their parents and friends to come in and take part of it, and to participate in their conference tournaments as well. And with all of that said, that wraps it up for our May edition of Eye on the Storm. We are happy to have you along and look forward to talking with you again on our June edition, but we appreciate Brad Warnemont coming in as our in-studio guest. I'm Randy Payton saying until next time, so long everybody.